Welcome to the show. We have an amazing guest today. Welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff, where we talk all things in the world of real estate, some stuff as well. Today's stuff and real estate is going to be with Joshua Dayrit from REI Deal Systems. Awesome guy, longtime Investor Fuse member, experienced real estate investor and wholesaler. Pumped that we got the fire alarm to go off here so we could get rolling episode. How's it going, Joshua, man? Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, hey Carlos, thanks for having me, man. It's I'm grateful to be on here with you guys. It's been a great 2025 so far, and we're excited to continue it out. And I think the market has been steadying out, doing really well this year for a lot of teams. So we're excited to keep it going.
Yeah, man, we want to dive into that as much as possible because, like we were talking before, that's what people want to hear. But Josh is a super bright guy, guys. This is who I personally like to refer when like friends hit me up about like PPC services. This is who I like to refer people to the last year or two. Just does a really great job, has great systems in place to meet with you guys. To kick off, man, I think we want to dive right into, and focus the episode on how people can be successful in 2025 with paid traffic online. What are you seeing, maybe even to kick off this year, about a quarter into the year? What are you seeing so far, high level, that's been successful for investors with being online?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I could talk about the landscape of digital in 2025 first, and kind of where some of the challenges are, what like investors are facing, and then the solutions behind them to get to the end result that we're all looking for, which is a cost per acquisition that is going to yield a good ROI or good return on ad spend, right? So obviously, the last couple of years, we've had text messaging die. We've had cold calling get a little tougher due to spam likely. TCPA has been coming down. And we've had more guys move to PPC, move to more digital and paid traffic. And, these last couple of years, due to the regulations changing in the industry, due to things moving, right? So with that being said, one of the challenges that we've seen is, obviously, there's a limited amount of searches on Google. There's not a unlimited supply of traffic. So from a supply and demand perspective, with more people coming into the marketplace, we can see things get a little bit more expensive, right? So, if you're a local flipper and you're doing it just in, let's say, Orlando, things get a little tougher now, right? Than in maybe, call it 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Nobody was really doing PPC 5-6 years ago. It was really so low key, not a lot of competition, and it's changed a little bit. So in 2025, we're really looking at how can we create that edge to still give you the result where it's going to make sense economically for your business, right? So this kind of boils down and back to, I would say, your core business itself and the economics of your business. So there's really two business models that we see working in 2025 across the board, regardless if you're doing PPC or really any other channel. And number one, that's going to be somebody who's local, right? Somebody who's focused on their backyard. They're just doing, let's say, Denver, for example, or they're just doing Atlanta. They're doing one market, and they're utilizing multiple exit strategies to be able to get these deals across the board, right? This could include flipping, it can include novations, wholesaling, etc. Okay, that's the first strategy. With that strategy, the beautiful thing about it is that obviously you're centralized, you have all your resources in one place, your title company, your buyers, your rehab crews, everything's there. And so you can turn deals a lot quicker. Your cash conversion cycle can be a little lower, and operationally you can be more efficient, right? The challenge with that model is that due to increased competition over the last few years, lead costs have gone up, okay? So call it, let's say 2020, 2021, or 2022, you used to be able to get away with only wholesaling in Atlanta, right? And that was the only exit strategy. But now here in 2025, due to lead costs being higher, the market having been changed a little bit, you now have to be able to utilize these other exit strategies like flipping, wholesaling, or novations in order to get the ROI you need to stay in business, okay, if you want to be local. The second option, if you're saying, hey, like, I don't want to be, responsible for all these other exit strategies. I don't want to, take deals down because I don't have the capital or I don't have the risk tolerance at this point. Is to do more of what we would say like a statewide, regional, or nationwide model where we can drop the CPLs, drop the cost per lead quite efficiently, and you can just focus on wholesaling and novations, right? Novations have been a huge game changer for the industry the last couple of years due to the fact that, you can sell the deals anywhere in the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you got it at the right price, there is some type of buyer demand there. You're not looking for an investor buyer. You can sell it to a retail buyer and you can make something happen, right? So those are basically the two models that we see working right now. Is number one, somebody who's local, but they're utilizing all the exit strategies needed to actually support the cost of the leads. And then the other option is we go statewide, regional, or even nationwide, and we drop the CPLs tremendously, right? So that's kind of what we've been seeing, I'd say, since the beginning of 2024. Same thing in 2025. That's where we're at. Now, in order to gain an edge, I'm strictly talking about PPC at this moment, not about anything else. We also do YouTube ads. I'm going to talk about that here shortly. To gain an edge, we got to do something different that other people aren't doing, right? So, everyone comes to PPC, costs go up. At the end of the day, whether you're working with me, you're working with somebody else who's running PPC, we're kind of all going after the same traffic, right? Yes, there's things that we're doing on our end that we do an excellent job at. We can get into, the details on how we track all the way down from the lead, from throughout your entire sales process, and then plug that data back in and create a super clear operation for you on PPC. But ultimately, the real way to gain an edge is to do something that other people aren't, right? So what we've seen is obviously the preferred method for a lot of real estate investors. They want to stay local, right? They want to stay local. They don't want to do nationwide, at least for guys who are flipping, guys who are running these local operations already. They don't want to pop up and say, hey, let me change all of my team to become a nationwide team, right? It's a big transition to make. There's a number of operational variables that come into play when you do that, and it's just hard to do. On the other hand, PPC for search is expensive. So some markets like, Miami-Dade, Broward County, we can see $400 or $500 leads there, right? Even sometimes a little bit more expensive. In markets like Atlanta, you're still looking at like a $350, $400 lead. Markets like Denver, $400 to $500. These tier one metros that are like the bigger metros that are super competitive are just really expensive, right? So we started looking at other avenues. We've been running YouTube ads for probably a good 2 years, and we finally got them to really crush within the last year on a local level. So we used to generate YouTube leads for, I'd say, $70 or so, but on like a nationwide or statewide level. And the cost on a local level was almost the same as PPC. So at the time we were just like, the PPC quality is still better. We're getting the same lead cost. Let's not continue to do YouTube. What we changed is I had heard a fitness company, this is totally irrelevant to real estate, a fitness company that sells like fitness coaching was talking about how for their business, they were testing 500 new creatives a month, right? So 500 new videos a month to sell their service. And out of the 500, they would find like 20 to 30 winning videos. So I looked at our process and I looked at the things we did, and it was like we did everything right, but we just weren't producing enough creatives, and we weren't like really putting new data out there into the system, for us to find like true ad creatives that win, right?
Videos.
Say that again?
Videos,
correct. Yeah. So all videos.
Hang on. One, you're crushing it, bro. Bro, like, I don't think there's ever been an episode where I haven't talked for 15 minutes. Just FYI. you set a world record, but your mind is obviously jam-packed with knowledge and stats. But I want to dial it back a second before we really dive into YouTube on a couple things. First, I wanted to say you made a mention of PPC being 5 or 6 years ago. Like it was nothing. And you're true. I was looking at those Carrot things in the back behind Carlos, and Carrot was one of the first places I heard about it. They did a Carrot cast with Max Maxwell back in like 18 or 17.
Mm-hmm.
And he was introducing, that was back when you could like upload certain things to Fate. Like their audiences were much different. It was more like a Wild West of what you could do. And he was teaching that and PPC. And that was like the start of it, I think, like way back then. And then like, you're right, in the 20s, I guess that's where we're at now, calling it the 20s. But in the 20s, it really ramped up. But I wanted to ask you before we dive into YouTube, when we're talking about this, right? Like you keep talking about the investor, right? And I don't think we really dived into it. And you kind of made mention, like you're talking about, well, we have these two ways. You're either local, a lot of exits, virtual, minimal exits, right?
Mm-hmm.
But are we generally, like with your clientele that you help out achieve this success, are we talking about straight wholesalers? Because you also mentioned the local flipper, their team, and we just recently had a guest on that fits that profile, local flipper in Ohio. Mm-hmm. He focuses on it, he crushes it with his flips, makes good money, small, focused team, low overhead, great quality leads, online advertising. What is the... What am I trying to say? The
avatar,
or the avatar, the organization that we're talking about here. Wholesalers or a hybrid?
Yeah, for sure. So for local, it's got to be somebody who has the infrastructure and the exit strategies that support the cost per lead that's available. So this is somebody who's flipping. They're kind of doing everything to monetize at this point.
They're a jack of all trades. They're probably, and I was thinking when you said this, in order to do what you're saying and really save money, they're probably also licensed or have a licensed agent on their team. Do you find that true?
I would say for the guys who are local, we have a couple who are licensed, but not all of them are. The main thing for local is we tend to work with more experienced teams. So teams who are, already maybe doing 5+ deals a month on a local level, and they're just looking to increase their pipeline. So they already
want their own deals. They want their own deals to flip and really ramp up. So they're more focused on the flipping and the acquiring assets, not just the quick paper flip type thing, like the virtual wholesaler.
Yeah. So the virtual wholesaler is more of a strictly a marketing and sales organization, right? They don't really do, in my opinion, real estate. It's just generate leads, have conversations, lock up contracts, sell contracts, because they don't fix any houses, right? Whereas these guys who are local and fixing up the houses, they're more involved in the actual transaction. They're doing real estate, they buy the houses, etc. Right? So on a local level, we work with guys who flip, right? Like if you only flip, you'll be fine. But typically a lot of the flippers we work with, because flipping is a slower cash conversion cycle, they also will wholesale or they'll also do novations just because that stuff doesn't fit the buy box, but they can still monetize it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they're spending money on the leads. I know a couple of guys who have that problem. They don't want to build a sales team. They just want to flip. But then it's like they get these leads. Like, what do they do? You know what I mean? Like, because it'll mess up their CP or cost per deal, essentially, right? Because they're letting go of leads that they can't do anything with if they're only flipping. Either that or they got to JV them. Now, what about your master wholesaler virtual to lower the CPL, to do it nationwide? Big teams? Like, are we talking like 5-6 sales guys, small teams? What are you seeing there in today's market? Because a lot of teams have shrunk down. A lot of guys have compressed their overhead during this as competition increased and the marketing got tougher. What are you seeing?
Yeah, for sure. So it really just depends on where the business owner is at. The great thing about PPC is that we can be much more efficient with the amount of time that we're actually on the phone with sellers with, right? So, for example, I had a large cold calling team at one point. We had almost 50 cold callers in addition to doing PPC. And for them to go through those leads and to have enough conversations to get contracts was a whole lot more just time than what it was with PPC. So you can have less reps and do more deals with PPC due to the time leverage from the lead quality than you will versus cold calling. So if you're running a operation
strictly PPC, let's just say strictly online, what are you seeing as your average customer team size?
Yeah, I would say anywhere between 1 and 3 to 4 max acquisitions, right?
Acquisition with a dispo or 2. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a huge team with a huge office and a huge overhead, but efficient enough to make multiple 6 figures.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, you can have like the perfect team size, I guess, for like the client we would love to work with is they have 2 full-time acquisitions, 1 full-time dispo, and they'll do over 6 figures a month.
That is the ideal team size. I agree with you. It's not too much, not too little. And if one leaves, you still have the one picking up the slack, and then you can always hop in. Yeah. The larger it gets, the more management and processes. Now, when you're looking at that, right, like you're spending a lot of money, right? And we haven't even gotten to YouTube yet. We're talking just like PPC, these leads. Are you using InvestorFuse? Are you using a CRM?
Yeah, InvestorFuse is the CRM that we've had for, I mean, we came off of the old one. It was like beginning of 2023, I think, or end of and somewhere like, I think late 2022, somewhere around there.
So like one of the things when I was wholesaling is what I really liked about IF3 was InvestorFuse was basically the whole email campaign, the follow-up, because you're spending so much money on these leads, your customers, because you can only do so much helping them get the leads.
Yep.
Are you making them use a CRM like InvestorFuse or something similar and making sure like, hey, listen, I'm going to help you and I'm promising this, but like I need to make sure that once, because you all know what happens, right? The lead comes in, you call it the first time, they don't pick up. Maybe you do a triple tap with a text or whatever. They don't pick up. Are you making sure that they have something in place if you're taking them on that nurtures those leads? Or does that not matter to you as the agency side of things?
Yeah. I'll explain how we approach that, right? So everyone that we work with, like, while we would love to have them all on InvestorFuse or one system, some guys are on different systems and they all have different processes, different, layouts of things, right? So our approach to working with investors and what I didn't like about working with agencies before, we've kind of changed. So in the past, this is back in 2018, I hired an agency, small, tiny little agency. It was like 2 guys and they ran some ads for me. And basically you put money into the black box and you hope you get leads out and that's it. Like nothing else.
I wonder if it was the same company.
No, yeah. So with that being said and having the investor background that I have, I always looked at the channel from any marketing channel from, we have, of course, the marketing side, but there's also the, sales side of the business and the operation side of the business that is equally as important for a marketing company to be a part of, right? So what we do a little differently is we're doing all the marketing, we generate the leads, but then we're also tracking for the clients, not just how many leads they've gotten, but how many qualified leads they've gotten, how many contracts they've gotten.
So you're in their CRM. You have access to their CRM.
We don't have access to their CRM. We give them there's 1 of 2 ways they feed data back to us. Number 1, we build triggers in their CRM to send the data back to our system that will update our records, or we just give them like a tracking spreadsheet where they can come in like, at the end of every day and mark, the dispositions of the leads, right? So we track leads, qualified leads, contracts, contracts per closed deal. And then we track the costs associated with each of them. So cost per lead, cost per qualified lead, cost per contract, cost per deal, so on. This allows us to basically do 2 things from the agency side of things. Number 1, obviously like financials on the marketing side. It allows us to see how things are going, where we need to make adjustments with your campaigns, how we can shift your budgets to make you more effective, and overall get you a better result. That's the first thing. The second piece of it is we have all the data that says this is how many leads it takes to get to a qualified lead. This is how many qualified leads it takes to get to a contract, and how many contracts it takes to get to a deal.
So if it doesn't, something's broken in their sales process.
Exactly. So either like, let's say, we have a ton of leads, but we have very little qualified leads. We're able to point the finger at ourselves and say, okay, what can we do to improve this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They got a ton of qualified leads, but no contracts.
They're not following.
What do we need to? Yeah.
Do you use the conversions API to enhance your marketing with deal pipeline?
Correct. Yeah. So the way that is built is we have pretty much, this is getting a little bit advanced on the PPC side, but we capture, Google Click ID, WBraid, GBraid parameters from Google. We carry that information over to your CRM or the tracker that we have. And then once those leads become qualified, turn into contracts or close deals, we take that variable, plug it back into Google, and Google knows exactly which individual, which lead turned into a qualified lead or contract or deal.
So it learns better. It knows what it's looking for.
Yeah, so we do use it for the bidding side of things, but the main benefit that we've seen overall is that I can aggregate the data across all of our clients, right? So if you're a one-man show and let's say you're spending 10K a month on PPC, yeah, you're going to get some data. It's going to take you, a little bit of time to establish it. There's going to be trial and error that you got to go through versus we're spending $400 to $500K a month on an ad spend. I'm able to aggregate all the sales data and all the stuff that's happening in, everyone's businesses to say, this is true, this is not true, and be able to make sure our investors are set up for success.
So to do this, how much is that local guy spending with all those exits?
Yeah, good question. This totally depends on the market itself, right? So
that's true. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So like a market like Orlando, we need to work with like 10 to 15K a month.
How many months do you want somebody to have money in reserves? I've heard different things everyone says, because, I got 15 grand, here you go. But obviously we have a cash conversion cycle. I'm not going to get my money back right away. And then what do you want? 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah. Not just reserves, but also like how long does it take to like prime the pump, so to say?
Yeah. So like, how long do I got to carry this for before it carries? Because at a certain point, the marketing carries itself. But until that point, I have to do it otherwise, because if I stop in month 2 or whatever it is, I'm sure that messes everything up for what you're measuring and the promises you made. So like, do you have any rules that you get, or not rules, what I mean, advice, rules, whatever that you give people?
Yeah, for sure. So I like to do everything in 90-day sprints when it comes to making adjustments to marketing, such as like increasing spend or looking at metrics and, really making decisions. So we require minimum 90 days. And those first 90 days, what we're really focused on is just establishing all of your initial acquisition metrics, right? Those 90 days is going to give you a good enough picture to where we can say, okay, cool. We have enough data to make some initial decisions off of on whether or not we need to make pivots, whether or not we want to increase ad spend, etc. I don't like increasing ad spend until we actually have closed deals back in the door and we have proof of concept. We have some of those numbers, and by day 90, you should have, you should have deals closed, right?
So like, if you think about this, that's like, you got to come to the table, 30K for marketing. And let's just say the average team, 3 sales guys, acquisition dispo, maybe like 1 office person. So let's just say 2K a month each person plus commissions, whatever. I mean, you're looking at needing to carry another 8K plus overhead a month, plus your marketing. Let's just round and say 20K a month, the 18, the salaries and marketing, and we'll just round, make it easy. So that's 60 grand. And that's not how it used to be way back. I mean, it's not a, what's the word? Not a poor man, but like the new man's game anymore. Where back in the day, you could come in and kind of scale up. It's like, if you want to be local and you want to play that game, you need to have the cash to do it and the withdrawal to and that's assuming you're not closing anything else. I'm assuming you start with a zero pipeline. Obviously, there's probably things closing, but that's still pretty scary.
Mhm.
That's still pretty scary, right? To do that, because PPC has become that competitive that to just want to do it in your market is it's tough.
Do you have anybody down here? You mentioned Miami-Dade a couple times. I know one of the guys that runs TV ads here in PPC. That's expensive. That's over 600 a lead.
Do I have anybody in Miami-Dade? No.
Yeah, just because you mentioned that market a couple times, just because I'm down here, I was curious.
Yeah, I do not, and I've had conversations around it multiple times. To be honest, when I have conversations initially with teams, I'm really big on setting realistic expectations. I'm not here to set anybody up for failure. And Miami-Dade is a competitive market, right? So when I have these conversations and tell them the numbers, they're like, well, damn.
There's no reason to be in Miami other than the sexiness of saying you do deals in Miami. Miami is no better than doing a house in Jacksonville or Orlando or Tampa.
Orlando is expensive too, though.
Orlando's expensive, yeah. But I'm saying Miami is just it's a strip of land alone. I don't know. I hate Miami. I think Miami's way overplayed for what it is. Just as a Floridian,
it's overpriced. It's interesting seeing stuff that we were talking about last week. What we were talking about last week, just with the inventory rising up in Florida, and just even notice stuff sitting on the market more. Even in Miami, rentals are sitting longer. Property sales sitting longer. So
I feel like Miami is a key place for a localized person, though. Maybe not doing the people, but just somebody in the trenches. Knows the neighborhoods, knocking on doors. I feel like Miami would be a perfect opportunity for that. You speak Spanish, everything. Maybe you grew up there. I could see you excelling in a place like that.
And it makes it makes sense for the guy that I know because he's on TV. His office is here. He's on local news.
Exactly.
Like that. So that's where it makes sense. Still expensive to us just looking at it in a vacuum, but it makes sense and it calculates obviously because that's a part of his marketing budget paying a lot. I was going to ask Josh really quick, not to get, off topic, but what you were saying earlier, we've talked about a lot on the show of we noticed with a lot of outbound challenges, people just immediately wanting to go to, getting online traffic. PPC, amazing. If you're not in a course like Nick Perry, something like that, where you're able to learn it from somebody, you're going to work with an agency. A lot of folks go to pay per lead though. And we've had a lot of episodes talking about that. We've had pay per lead.
I used to use pay per lead. I had success with it. I had some bad experiences, some good experiences. Yeah.
I'm curious, where does that play in your stack? Because I'm sure some of your clients may be running both at the same time. And we see that too with just Investor Fuse members, people that are running some PPL. They might be having a little bit of everything. Where do you see that balance? How do you see it playing in?
How do you see running PPC through your agency comparing to PPL too? And costs. We're mentioning super high costs. Do the same costs come through on PPL? Are people seeing cheaper things there?
Yeah, great question. So number one, I'm a really big proponent of having more than one leg to stand on in your business. So if you're doing local and you're just doing PPC, I recommend to add something else, whether it's direct mail, whether it's PPL, whether it's anything else. Guys, if somebody comes on here and says they run PPC perfectly 100% of the time, and there's never a bad, couple weeks, that's not the truth, right? So I do love when guys have at least another channel that they can rely on. And PPL, I don't think we really have. I maybe have two guys doing it. I can't really think of too many.
My cost per lead was when I was doing it was 3. I could set it. And I kind of was gaming it, but generally you're in the major markets, you're 400 to 600 in PPL. If I was in Orlando, Tampa, some of those in Dallas were getting bid all the way up to the 600. Some of the medium-sized markets 350, 450, 300, 400, somewhere in there.
Yeah, crazy enough, where I'm at in San Jose, California, I had just checked for, fun essentially last year. Locally, the bid for my market was $1,200.
Holy shit!
Yeah, wow. $1,200 for one lead, and I was like, "This is pretty crazy. This is super expensive, right?" Yeah. So, with when it comes down to PPL, every PPL provider is slightly different, and the trend that I've seen over the years with PPL is they start out, they have no demand, they're very small. They start to get some attention, and then maybe Carlos here says, hey, I'm getting good results, and he goes and tells John, and John goes and tells me, and so on and so forth. And demand grows, and in order to fulfill demand, at some point you have to lower the quality of traffic in order to achieve the lead. Like, they can't generate enough quality leads at some point to service the client base, right? So when they get too big, and I've seen this happen again and again, just brand reputation becomes an issue for them because lead quality goes down, and now you're paying what was, let's say, a PPC lead. You know, you're paying $300 for a PPC lead in the beginning. You're now paying $300 for a Facebook lead down, you know, a couple years in, right? So that's the main issue I think with PPL, is that there's no clarity.
Quality was an issue, and clarity. You're right. Definitely, you don't know as the user where that lead, like we did multiple episodes on this like a year or two ago, and it was like, where did this lead come from? I thought it was mine. They're getting contacted by like 5 different people. There's a lot of trust and clarity that goes into PPL, and yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so like we just don't know where the leads are coming from, right? It could come from, you know, you think you're paying for SEO or PPC lead or whatever kind of lead, but it's a TikTok lead. And
I had one person tell me they filled out a mortgage app, and that's how I got their phone number. I was like, "What you filled out for?" I filled out for a mortgage. I was like, "What? Like, how did that even, like, where are these people buying this data from that this person's trying to buy a house and I got the fucking phone number?" It's probably like a refi mortgage is what it was, but still, like, that's not where I thought the lead was. That's not what I thought I was paying for. And so there's the lack of clarity that you're speaking of.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to cost, right? Talking about like, hey, does PPC cost the same as PPL? The difference is that if they were only selling you PPC leads, the cost would even be higher than what they're charging you because they're mixing in lower quality traffic, right? So for PPL and PPC, and we're just talking about search here, the costs are pretty similar, but that's only because we're pushing the highest quality traffic through PPC search. PPL, if we mixed in some of the other stuff, like, you know, for example, YouTube, we could get the cost way lower, make it, you know, much more cost effective than what you're paying.
The net, though, just putting them on a comparison table with a agency, you're getting the level of you're paying for the management, but you're also getting that level of service. Some agencies actually get on, do lead reviews with you, do traffic reviews with you, XYZ type stuff. You could hit on that if you do a service like that. Versus PPL, in theory, you hope, knock on wood, the person is ethical and, you know, just sending you the traffic that they said they're going to send you. You're providing the leads of where they're coming from, SEO, PPC, whatever. So the net, you may be paying more for the PPC, but it's close to guaranteed quality leads. Plus you're meeting with their team, depending on the agency, to go over all that stuff, which, you know, it's good to make the customer, it's good to make the client feel warm and cozy and have awareness, especially with a service like that.
But you're retargeting too. I'm sure there's pixels. I'm sure you're capturing that data, building custom audiences. I am sure you're using that across. I don't know if you take any of that data and use it in other ways or whatnot, but like, you're owning your own data. It's just hard. I mean, listen, dude, like, why do I want to sign up with you when I sign up for just this website and all I do is click a button and the leads come to me? You know, so there's this ease of just signing up for PPL versus having to go do, it's like getting a fish versus fishing, right? Like, a lot of people just want to buy the fish. And so PPL, I think, will always have its place. I think people want that type of service, but I don't know. But so circling back, so all of this is crazy, right? Like we just talked about cost wise market, but like you're over here saying like the new school is going YouTube, and before you dive into it, because we give you the floor to kind of preach it, just stupid question. Am I using the same Google platform to do that, or do I got to create a whole nother ad account and go through YouTube? Like, is it like click and play, or is it like I got to go somewhere else and I got to manage now multiple ad accounts?
Yeah, good question. So Google owns YouTube, right? So YouTube, all the YouTube ads are done within the same Google ad account that we're already running PPC.
Okay.
Right? Cool. So luckily no separate account. Otherwise that'd be a real pain to deal with. It's all in one place. And it's been good. They're changing some stuff up here in 2025, but something you mentioned earlier, like the retargeting, that's a really big thing that, like when you own your own data, if you can retarget your audience, right? Especially if you're doing TV, you're doing mail, you got guys going to the website just in general, and you're retargeting that audience all around the internet, you become the instant authority, right? You can become the instant authority. You could be the celebrity per se, if you're even the guy going on the appointments. Hey, I saw him on TV. I saw him on Facebook. I saw him on YouTube. And then you show up in their living room face to face. And I mean, the close is a lot easier when you have that much brand presence. You can do that, right? So with YouTube, I'll kind of, I guess, spill the beans on what we're doing to get a effective result and really, really generate cost-effective opportunities, right? Now, in the beginning of the episode, I was kind of mentioning one of the things that we changed is we started doing very high volume creative work on our end. Okay. So when we had done YouTube in the past, we pushed on it. We, said, hey, like we're going to try all these different audience targeting options. We're going to try, these different placements on the, inside of YouTube. And we were getting it to work, but it wasn't at the level that it is now, to where it was like, this is a clear winner over PPC. And like we, in some markets, would prefer just to do YouTube versus PPC, right? So what we started doing is we just started hiring actors, writing scripts, and creating a ton of variations. So what we do is, let's say we're going into a new market and we've never been there before. We will go and we'll write 4 or 5 hooks, 2 bodies, 2 call to action statements, and I believe it's 16 different variations for 4 hooks, 2 bodies, and 2 call to action. So 16 variations of a video creative that we can plug into your ad account. Out of those 16, we will find usually, I'd say, a quarter of them to be like true winners.
So you're making the videos, not me, the customer.
Exactly. We take care of everything. Yeah. We literally structure this out, like whether you're doing PPC or YouTube, to where all you need to do is show up and call the leads.
But is my video the same as John's video?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason being,
you're creating that many unique videos for all of your customers.
It's a pain in the ass, dude.
I feel like I don't want to dive into it now, but I feel like we're going to dive down another rabbit hole of how to create those marketing scripts, a good marketing script, a good video. I mean, I feel like we could do a whole episode on that. Yeah. That'd be an interesting conversation, actually, because that takes a lot of effort, dude. I write them just myself, and I couldn't imagine doing it that scale. So sorry to interrupt, but you do all these videos. They're unique for every person. I sign on and I get them.
Yeah, the reason why they're unique is we directly in the creative speak to the market that we're operating in, right? So a lot of people who will run ads is just like, we buy houses for cash, blah blah blah, and et cetera. We will say Bergen County homeowners, right? We directly address the audience that's there for every client, right? So if you're doing specific markets, we're calling out your specific market, and that's been something that's really increased the performance of the ads, right? Small tweaks like that, just being very specific with who your audience is, making sure that that's taken care of.
Yeah.
So that's why we do it.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So you're putting all these ads out, and you're getting good result. I mean, you said you narrow down and you find the ones that work, and this is doing better than PPC?
Yeah, I'll give you guys a couple examples. So we have a client in Denver that was spending $20K a month on PPC last year. They're paying, I mean, these guys make, they make good money.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, obviously it's all about what you make, but for the normal person listening, they're like, again, barriers to entry to make that money.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There is, the market's just changed. It's not the same. You can still do great. It's a little harder to get started, but once you get your traction, you can kill it just like in the old days. You just got to catch the original traction. So they were spending $20K a month on PPC. They were spending roughly between $475 to like $525 a lead. So
what's their cost per deal?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Yeah. So fairly expensive for leads already. Cost per deal for them was close to $11,000 per closed deal.
Damn.
I hope they were flipping.
They were. Yeah.
Okay.
They were. These guys were at a 4.1x ROI on the channel for all of last year. So they did decent. The numbers made sense. Like it lined up, right? We started doing YouTube for them at the beginning of this year, in January. We've now shifted their entire budget from PPC all to YouTube because the cost for a YouTube lead in Denver, we're paying anywhere between 80 to 115 bucks. Their cost per contract, we don't have enough data, I'd say, for closings yet because it's only been a couple months. But their cost per contract is sub $3,000 right now, which is nuts. So like, yeah, I mean it's crazy, and they're closing on 80% of their contracts in general. So call that a.
What's the lead quality like for YouTube? Is it the same qualified lead percentage as PPC was having?
So yeah, this is a good question. If you're doing local, it's about the same, right? So it's about the same. The one thing that how we define a qualified lead is there's 4 pieces to it. Number 1 is it's somebody who picked up the phone. Number 2, it's a homeowner. It's not listed. And if you made them an offer, regardless of their asking price, you have viability to dispo the house. So meaning if it's a little 1-1 shitbox house, I mean, that is no viability to dispo it. It's not a qualified lead. It doesn't mean anything, right? For PPC, typically what we see is for every 1 in 3, 1 in 5 qualified opportunities, you'll get a contract. Now, those numbers for YouTube are slightly different because there's more intent behind the PPC lead than there is a YouTube lead. So for lead to contract on PPC side, we'll typically see guys anywhere from on the very low end and some of the less competitive markets, 1 in 8. And then some really competitive markets like Orlando, you'll be closer to 1 in 20, right? It's just competition. With YouTube, we're seeing guys anywhere between 1 in 15 and 1 in 30 on the high end. So my guy in Denver last month, I just looked at his numbers literally this morning. It's a little bit down to, as we're making this transition to just YouTube. He spent $12K on YouTube last month. Got 4 contracts out of the $12K, and we generated 87 leads or 89 leads, something like that, right? So, even in a competitive market like Denver, we're still under 30 leads per contract, which is pretty good for a social media ad per se.
Yeah. So does YouTube ads track the same way for Google? Is it cost per click? How does that work?
No, yeah. So for YouTube ads, once we cross a certain threshold of watch time, that's when you get billed for the views.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Right? So you only get billed per views. You don't get billed for impressions. And what we're looking at is we are looking for 2 things, essentially a good click-through rate and then a healthy CPM, which is cost per 1,000 impressions to, gauge the health of the campaign typically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super interesting. So I want to kind of bring this full circle. I mean, YouTube, PPC, we can keep diving into YouTube. I've got more questions there, but what's the importance of a landing page? Is it more important in PPC world? Do you still need a good one for YouTube? And then are there things that you feel like a landing page needs to have in order for you to have the conversion to rectify your budget that you're putting in?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the PPC side first because we actually use a slightly different funnel on the YouTube ads than we do for PPC. So for PPC, we want to have a couple things. Number 1, it should be a 1-page website, so a landing page. It should not have multiple tabs where they can get distracted, go off, do a bunch of things, and then forget to submit their information, we basically set it up so they can call you, submit their information, or leave the page, right? So that's number one, the structure. As far as the page itself, we want to have a really strong above the fold section of the website, which is basically anything you can see on the website as soon as you hit the page. This would include, this would include the unique selling proposition, the call to action, and the form. You want to show all three of those things as soon as you hit the page. This way, the seller knows what you do and how they can get you their info.
Yeah.
So,
I've always been surprised when I've looked at like some landing pages that I know perform well. I'll call it the lack of content. Like they don't have a video, there's not a lot of text, and you look at like a normal SEO website and you're like, there is a crap ton of content there. There's videos all over the place. Are those less important things to put on a landing page for PPC because they are coming with the intent and they just need to be convinced a little bit to fill out the form? And like have you tried putting more content, tried putting more videos, and it just doesn't increase the conversion of the page?
Yeah, we found that. So page speed is really important, right? Like if the page takes a couple seconds to load, conversion rates go down. And so like when you add all those videos, all those extra links, you can slow the page down a bit. So that's number one. The other side is we've actually found the opposite to be true with the amount of content. Like the less content that we've generally put on the page, the better the conversion rate we can generate.
Interesting.
There's less distractions.
I believe it. 100% believe it. They've already made their decision. They just need to be guided now to fill it out. I mean, it's a totally different mentality. The SEO is like raw searching, I need to be sold type of thing. But I mean, if you go on PPC, you already have a pain point that you're trying to get solved.
Is that true though? Because isn't SEO and PPC targeting the same keywords? Just one of them is sponsored on the top of the page, and the rest are just organically showing.
Yeah, great question. So this is why retargeting is important, right? That's why retargeting is important. A lot of the time, the more I think there's two types of traffic that you can generate through PPC typically. Both of them work really well. Just general terms like sell my house that do not include like any distressed keyword indicators like sell my house fast or, ugly house buyers near me. Like they're not aware of that stuff yet. They're just looking to sell their house. That traffic pool tends to be, not everyone has a 2025 renovated house that they're living in. They could have an as is house that they just are looking to sell, right? So they're going and they're seeing a website that says, we can make you a cash offer, pretty quickly. Maybe there's not a lot of extra social proof, but once they submit the information, number one, speed to lead is super important. So, people are calling these leads in sub 2 minutes. They're getting on the phone, having a conversation. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that if you can retarget this traffic and then show them that you're credible, that you're not just some random guy on the website, it definitely reinforces your brand and can say, hey, like, we're legitimate, essentially. Because that's the main thing. People just want to see, like with SEO, legitimacy is like the biggest, I think, lever within Google and then some of the people submitting their information. PPC can be similar. So like for guys who are just doing one market, we will make the landing page a little bit more custom just for the one market, right? We'll address that specific audience in the landing page if they're just doing Orlando. They're doing obviously 20 states. We're not going to address the state because it's just, we'd have to have 20 different landing pages, 20 different campaigns. It'd be really tough to make work. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, but YouTube would probably be better, John, because it's like I'm watching a video about this. So I already get like I know who you are.
Yeah, like, I mean, you should still retarget, but you don't need to do the retargeting to build like.
But like, I'm talking about like landing page. I don't need you to put info on the landing page because I probably got info from this YouTube. Yeah. And that's what I was saying with like PPC stuff. Like the landing page sells the person that already has the pain. The SEO page, like a carrot page, sells the person trying to discover what their pain is and how to solve it, essentially.
And they're also getting there from other places too, like cold calling, direct mail, stuff like that. So it's just wider.
That organic search, right? Like the non-distress searches. And so like I think there's a place for each one, but like YouTube's intriguing because like, and again, like I click on them and I see like, and I was going to ask you how long your videos are, but sometimes I like both, right? Sometimes I like the quick one. It's just like 30 seconds. I'm in and out. But then there's some when like I'm watching them and like I'm not even in the market, and it's like a 2.5 minute video, and it's like, do you want to keep watching? Like you click, and I'm like, oh man, like this is really intriguing, and like I'm getting educated to like this pain this guy's trying to sell me on. So like, do you find that you have these longer ones, or you have the 30 seconds? I'm making my pitch, paying, call to action, slide you over to my landing page.
Yeah, so typically what we found, the longer videos tend to generate better leads, and just they work better overall. So between like the 60-second and 90-second mark.
Oh, so you are doing those?
Between so majority of our content on YouTube is ran in like short form style placements, right? So vertical videos, not horizontal videos. Like think of YouTube Shorts.
Right?
Yeah. So anywhere from 60 to 90 seconds. I don't think we have any over 2 minutes. We have a couple that are like 1 minute and 45 seconds. But yeah, between that is like the sweet spot. And that's really where we see the ads perform the best. 30 seconds.
Are you targeting keywords of videos that they'd be? I mean, so your shorts don't. I don't even know. I have not looked at YouTube ads in a very long time, but I don't think you can target keywords in shorts, right? So you're just targeting a region, or how does that work?
So yeah, a couple of things. You can't actually, you cannot actually strictly just target shorts. You have to just, you only put that video creative there. So like you only put the vertical video, and it'll tend to run on shorts, and just Google will put YouTube.
Kind of like how Facebook does it with Reels, Explore Pay. Like it's just like, we're going to place this, and it kind of flops it and crops it to what needs to fit, right?
But Facebook, you can actually select the placement. On Google, you cannot though, right? There's there's like, so we're just putting the media in a certain format that inclines Google to place it on shorts, but they can, which is relatively more rare, they can still place it in front of like an in-stream video ad instead of being on shorts, right?
So you like the shorts? So if I'm watching like a 1 hour podcast, is that where I'm seeing your ads, or I'm just seeing your ads on the shorts?
So we don't target, not to go too far off track here, but we don't target like people who are just listening to music on YouTube. We don't target people who are playing like, like researching games or like kid stuff or any of that kind of stuff where somebody's not really attentive to the screen, right? We don't want them to like set it and then forget it, like have it in the background. We want to make sure we're targeting channels and in front of traffic where people are like picking the next video and actually kind of watching stuff, right? So, John, to circle back to your original question, as far as like the targeting and stuff, so there's 2 ways that you can do it. The first way is that you can run with no audience at all, right? So 0 audience indicators, and you'll let the creative basically generate the audience itself.
Off the conversion.
Right, yeah, off the conversion. So whoever's interacting with the ad, whoever's converting with it, Google's algorithm is going to basically steer the YouTube ad to the most likely people to convert down the road.
Yeah.
It's the first way. The second way is we can target people who search stuff like Sell My House Fast, We Buy Houses, Ugly House Buyers on Google. We can take that, we can build an audience around that, and then run the traffic on YouTube to the people who are searching Sell My House Fast.
These poor PPC people over there paying $600 a lead. The same leads are being retargeted on YouTube for somebody else. That's pretty funny.
Well, you can do it for keywords. You can do it for websites. So like if somebody's visiting, let's say Zillow or Redfin, we could target all that traffic, like users of
really.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I gotta look into this. I was thinking about doing YouTube for my capital raising stuff, longer videos. You know what I mean? I find YouTube very intriguing. I also do you not like social media videos? like TikTok, stuff like that? I mean, TikTok ads seem to be like a new thing, and we've talked about like advertising on Hulu and those different kinds of things. I mean, are these things taking a place? I mean, obviously you like this video platform, grabbing their attention, 60, 90-second style. I mean, they're commercials, right? Like at this point, you're making commercials. So do you see that transcending into, and I use TikTok and not Instagram because of the way TikTok's more set up to those like pure videos.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that to be something down the road you'd look into, or are you just sticking with that Google side of things?
Yeah, so for us right now, we're strictly just focused on Google because from what I've seen on the social media side is there tends to be like we'll talk about Meta, and then TikTok's relatively new within the last couple of years, right? So less data there, but lead quality seems to be still higher on YouTube than what it is on Meta. And I'm more interested on focusing on the best lead quality sources rather than just generating leads.
Yeah,
Nobody we could generate $10 nationwide Facebook leads if we wanted to. Like we could do it, but the amount of leads somebody needs to call to get to a contract is going to be
lower quality. Yeah,
you might as well cold call.
It's basically the same as cold calling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it could be basically the same as cold calling. Now, if the team is running like really good creatives and they have a strong filtering system on the front end, right? They're doing what we would call like conditional logic on the like a quiz funnel. Then yeah, they can rub off a lot of the friction and get a higher quality lead. But then of course, cost per lead goes up, right? So it can definitely work. The channel works. I know guys that do it. Nothing against it. The economics make sense. It's just a slightly different lead channel and conversation you can have with the lead.
What about streaming ads? Oh,
go ahead.
Streaming ads like Hulu. Like I know you can target by like zip code and those kind of things. Have you looked into that? Heard any success on that?
So YouTube has YouTube TV, right? And Google owns YouTube TV. You can run ads on YouTube TV.
Yeah, but do people really use YouTube TV? Is that?
I do. I love YouTube TV.
I do. I freaking yeah, it's amazing.
Fantastic service.
Yeah, it's a great service. It's like super cheap compared to.
They should let me bundle. Well, Josh is probably the guy to ask here. Can I bundle my YouTube Premium and YouTube TV? Get a little bit better deal.
I don't know. Well, Disney owns Hulu, and Hulu and Disney just bought Fubo TV, and it's like so. I feel like ads over there are going to become a thing too.
So yeah, we don't currently we don't push any traffic on YouTube TV because number one, like all of our creatives are geared towards like click the button, not call, right? So
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
That's the main reason why.
Different CTA, a different time. It's going to take more effort. You're right, because I can even go to my phone real quick and look you up. You can say, hey, go to www.sellmyhouse.com. You're still requiring me to do this extra action, which, let's be honest, I'm laying on my couch.
Well, Hulu does that thing. Have you seen those ads? I think it's like Progressive, where it just says, do you want us to send an email to your Hulu account? Click this button, and then
I didn't know that,
yeah. So they enable that kind of interaction. Not everybody does that.
What? No, I didn't even recognize this until you said it. So I've been watching in our bedroom, we have like a Ruco TV. And I just was watching Walker, Texas Ranger, and it's like on Ruco. And so because it's free, I'm going through.
Tell me, BP, tell me who you voted for without telling me who you voted for.
And I've noticed, and I haven't done anything, but like this thing comes up when Ruco plays the ads, and it's like this, and it tells you this is an interactive ad. And then there's like choices or something I've never really paid attention that I could click over here. And it's the first time I've ever seen that, and I had no idea. I was like, wow, this is interesting. I don't know what this means. I'm not doing it. I just want Chuck Norris to
Yeah.
That's interesting.
All right, well, let's bring it back. If you have any insight on that, I'd love to hear that. But I also am curious because we loop back into like landing pages, and you were saying YouTube is a little different. So I wanted to make sure we didn't miss that information.
He's thinking of Chuck Norris jokes right now. Is what he's doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, YouTube for landing pages, we're doing more of a quiz funnel than we are a straight landing page, right?
When you count that lead count, when you say like they're getting, I can't remember what you said, like 80 leads in 4 contracts, does that include people that, or Is that excluding people that did not pass the quiz funnel?
So we don't. So the way the quiz funnels are built, and we do the same thing for search. It's just a little bit different of a structure. Is we use conditional logic on all of our websites to make sure that we're only pushing the right, avatar of seller through, right? So they'll hit it's really just a 3 question quiz funnel with a contact form at the end. The first one is, are you looking to sell your home for cash? That's number 1. Second one is, are you the owner of the property? Is it listed? Those 3 questions, if they pass the funnel, they can submit their information. If they do not properly answer the questions, we DQ them in the funnel and they're sent back to YouTube.
Got it. Cool. Can you?
Okay. I'll go ahead, and I have something to end on before we get to the ending.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, I have one last question because I love ads. So, so you're getting paid for people that pass a percentage of watch. Can you retarget people in other networks other than YouTube based off of how much of the video they watch? Or are you restricted to only Google ads retargeting off the watch?
Yeah, so you can't necessarily build audiences around like the Google data. Like we can't pull out the
not like Meta can. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so like let's say on Meta we're targeting people who are looking into loans, right? Like just theoretically, we're looking for people who are looking into loans. We can't take that audience out of Meta and plug it into Google because Google will say like we have our own audience per se. The only stuff that we can retarget across platforms is anybody who gets picked up on the landing page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a Pixel or you've got their info. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Either Pixel or you got their info. If you have their info, you can create. So this is something that I've wanted to test for a long time. We haven't done it. It's been on the back burner and it hasn't been a primary focus. Is I would love to get with a company like 80/20 or Audantic, who these guys say they have the emails, the phone numbers, and they have the most likely sellers that are going to sell, and just create a custom audience based off of that list and run it just as its own campaign where we're going after people who are likely to sell. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's one way you can do it. But outside of that, there's no way to pull like watch time out of YouTube and then hit them on Facebook.
Yeah, I've long wanted to, have not and will not for anybody listening, but like I technically have access to the best custom audience you could ever put into an ad platform. I was like, this would be so much fun to take all closed deals or all motivated sellers and put them into a custom audience. Have not done it, won't do it, but my brain's always like thinking of that. All right, I have one last question.
I want to share this with you because this is, I think, cool for Investor Fuse in general. For you guys, is obviously you guys are going to put this podcast out on probably YouTube or wherever other locations, right? Yeah. I mean, it's going to go on YouTube that's a long form content playbook, right? And what you can do is you can actually retarget your organic viewers with ads, right? So if somebody watches your videos organically, then you can create an audience around your organic viewers with ads on YouTube or within the Google, platform. So,
okay, my last question is for retargeting PPC or YouTube. Are you avoiding retargeting on certain platforms, or you're like, this person gets to the landing page or got their email? It's YouTube, Google, Facebook, anywhere you can. Are you just blasting them?
Yeah. So for us, like we're primarily doing it on the YouTube suite just because we already have access to that ad account. Getting access to somebody's Facebook ad account, setting up their Facebook page. It's a whole nother endeavor. So if they if they handle it themselves, like we will pixel the page, of course, like we'll drive the traffic, but we're not a Facebook ad agency. So it's just not something we handle at the moment.
Cool. Makes sense.
Yeah. So
not a questions.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I was going to say is kind of wrapping this up. Like I get your stance on things, but like, I feel like everything you've said and like what we're learning about the market and stuff is, and I get what you said earlier about once you get the traction, you're there. But the days of coming into the game, you've been in it a while, it sounds like. The days of coming into the game, dialing, knocking on doors, getting that one deal and it propelling you into, obviously you had SMS and RVM and just cold calling. I mean, you could really get that traction with little money to no money, which was obviously a lot of gurus' selling point. Like 5 years ago, that was like the pitch to get you to buy the course.
Correct.
But that's changing now, right? Like you see that changing. It's not no money. You need money to do it, and you need systems, right? Like, do you agree with that change in the general market with all the new laws and everything surrounding the competition?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that if you're a beginner and, just for example, like when I started, I was working a full-time job and then doing it part-time, trying to make things happen, trying to make it work. When I had a full-time job, I had a little bit of extra money every month that I could spend on the marketing spend, right? So call it $1,000 to $2,000 a month, right? In today's landscape of things, the one benefit of PPL is that it's stop and go. You don't need to be fully committed to it, right? Yeah. So you can work, and the leads are, they can be hit and miss, but you will eventually hit something, and you will eventually, get that traction that you need to at least get the capital to start really building on things. And
but it's tougher because so you're talking about the money side. But yes. Before, even if you had no skill, and I'm assuming you started back in like 18, 19, it sounds like somewhere around there. Bro, back then, we didn't even need an effing script. We were doing one-call closes with a one-page script. It was like get your offer in 5 minute or less type shit. So even if you made mistakes, I guess is what I'm saying, you could still, because there wasn't that competition. So now you have that money or the money issue, and now you have competition. Like if you don't have a good script, a good sales process, I feel like it's just harder for that person, because if I'm spending that $2,000 a month of my leftover money and I get a couple deals from PPL or a couple leads, if I fuck one of those up, like, dude, that's like a whole month's savings of money based on a fucked up script. And we've all been there where we've said the wrong thing, we went the wrong angle, pissed them off, and they don't pick up for us.
Yeah, I would say number one is try, obviously the financial situation for everyone's different. Right. So if you can afford to do $1,000, $2,000 a month, you got to make sure you can be consistent. You can't show up for 1 month, throw $1,000 into the casino and expect 20 back. Right. You got to show up month after month, be consistent, be patient, work on your craft, do the small things that are, necessities. The second thing is that you can't go virtual, right? You don't need to be, like, with all the tools available today.
It's almost smarter to go virtual when you're starting out to kind of spread it out and make the most of your money and JV that deal with somebody.
Correct. Yeah. So that's exactly what I was going to recommend. Go virtual, get the leads as cheap as possible, get as many conversations under your belt. And then if you can, JV and just get some capital back in the business.
But like, it's going to take longer. I guess I don't have an angle in this question. It's just like what I'm seeing. It's like, I just feel like it's not as easy as it used to be. It's going to take longer to get that traction, but ultimately I think it's going to lead to less entrance into the market, less competitors in the market. I think overall the changes are going to result in less wholesalers per se than more, which from 2017 on, like we were just seeing a steady like up ramp of new entrants. And I think now we're starting to see, I mean, John talks about it all the time. Like even as a CRM person, software guy, he sees people like they're shutting down, they're cutting costs, or getting rid of their team where now it's just them. It's just this decline, right? Like,
so yeah, what's interesting about that is that I talk to guys who like, I'm still surprised. I see new guys coming into the industry all the time, right? So I'll give you an example. I got a guy who he was doing e-com, and now Trump had changed the tariffs for stuff like they used to anything under $800 was exempt.
Taxes. Yeah. That changed that.
Yeah,
I got
him. These e-com guys are struggling, man. They're like
that's interesting.
Yeah, so these guys who are running other businesses and other industries, they see our industry as a better industry. So we may see, oh yeah, things are more competitive, but stuff is worse elsewhere, and there's still
good perspective. I didn't even think about that.
I didn't think about that either. But those guys are coming with money, though.
Exactly, they're coming with business acumen,
which is almost even worse. Yeah, because they got Yeah, I'd rather have the new guy. The new guy in his mom's basement than this guy coming in a warehouse in Miami with a bunch of dudes ready to hit the fucking.
They're like, what's a good starting budget per month? Like 50 grand? Can I see 50 grand?
Oh, this is cheap. Are you telling me all I need is 50? Yeah. Damn, I didn't think about that, man. Like that's perspective.
Yeah, I was surprised to kind of hear that. I was like, you just don't know what's happening in other industries that, things change. The affiliate marketing game. So Trump also moved this back a year. The TCPA law that was supposed to drop on the 25th of January. In my opinion, it saved these PPL companies because we're going to go way higher than they already were. And, these guys were like all stressing before that was going to happen. So they were trying to find other avenues to make money.
They got one more year. They got 1 year to pivot. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what it turns out to be. But I think that overall, the entire young adult community for like people coming out of college or whatnot, or considering going into college, like more people are trying to do entrepreneurship than they are trying to do W-2 than before. So like the entire pool of people doing entrepreneurship is growing essentially. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity for everyone across the board, but that's something that's becoming more common, of course.
Definitely.
I just feel like people need to understand what entrepreneurship means before they get there. I was literally
go on TikTok. Just go on TikTok and watch a few videos.
Yeah, we were talking about like the consistency of motivation, stuff like that, and like what people don't talk about. And I was like, I was joking. I was like, they never tell you this when you think about becoming an entrepreneur. And he's like, sometimes I almost wish that at like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I could just shut down and not think about work anymore. It's like something, we get jealous. Like, and I do sometimes, like you just get jealous of these people. They're like carefree after a certain hour and like their weekends are actually weekends. And it's like, they clock out and don't think about it. And like people want to become an entrepreneur. They want to do wholesaling. Well, bro, when that lead comes in and you're laying on the couch and you just paid like $300 or $400 for that lead, you better hop off. You're out to dinner. Right. Dude, you got to be ready. Those things are expensive. And when it's your money,
that was one of I have two last questions. This is going to be quick. I was curious, just your opinion on running ads on the weekend versus off. I know part of that's lifestyle if you're chilling out to dinner or whatever with a spouse.
Yeah. So leads on the weekends can be cheaper because there's less competition, right? So depending where you're at in your business can dictate where you're going to like what your ad schedule is going to be. Mm-hmm. Most guys who run a more sophisticated team, they are totally dialed in. A lot of them don't want to have leads coming in on the weekends because they want to give their salespeople a rest. They don't want to burn them out. And if nobody's available to work the lead,
wasted money.
It's wasted money. Yeah, it's wasted money. So, if it's a perfect opportunity for somebody who's hustling though to run them on the weekends, get the cheaper leads on the weekends, where like you said, Sunday evening the lead comes in, you're hopping on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the key there. So it just depends on the preference of the operator. We have guys who do both. The more you restrict the hours, though, the more expensive the leads get typically.
So gotcha. I don't do PPL anymore, and I'll share this little tidbit. But what I found is I used to tell John, like I was testing out these different strategies. I gamed it where like I would lower my per lead down to like $150, $175 in like a 400, 450 market. And I would just let it ride because what I found was at night on the weekends and then at probably the last week of the month when everyone was running out of their budget, they had to move these leads. And I was willing, because I had other business, I was willing to just sit there and wait for the time that they couldn't place that lead. And so now instead of spending $450 or $600 somewhere like Dallas, especially, they're just eating them up. So like Saturdays and Sundays and Fridays. So John worked with me in InvestorFuse to get automatic text messages, email, like immediate emailing, to schedule a call, all those things for those late night and like weekend stuff. So I could be geared towards that, but I was saving 50% or more just on the cost per lead. It's just a different game where those, like you said, those guys, they just didn't want, you know what I mean? They're shut down. They use their budget up, or they're home for the weekend. Their office is closed down at 5 o'clock and they don't want to spend the money. So you could capitalize on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, the guys who do, like, I think the couple guys who do run PPL are doing exactly what you just mentioned. Is they're waiting until the end of the month. They're waiting until like these off hours when everyone's ran out of budget. They're coming in and kind of scooping up the cheaper stuff.
Yeah. It's really the only thing. If you don't have money or like you're budget conscious, you almost have to do stuff like that. But yeah.
Dude, let me ask you here, and then we'll kind of get into our wrap up question. Make sure we have all the links and where people can follow you and connect with you, and maybe briefly touch on like what it's like to onboard and the service moving forward. For someone like your whole livelihood right now is on Google essentially. Mm-hmm. How much time and what are your overall thoughts on like AI with Gemini and just AI coming into like search and stuff? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I see AI right now more on the ad creative side, ad creation side, rather than on the management side. There are a couple tools out there that don't necessarily use AI, but have like triggers within the Google account essentially, right? So like if your cost per lead rises above X amount, let's send a trigger to whoever's managing it to then make sure that we're paying attention to what's going on. Right. Small things like that. It's super early on still for the whole AI thing to where like in a couple of years, we could be talking about a totally different conversation and AI could be, running a lot more stuff than what it's currently running.
With search, I more so mean.
Yeah. So, within search, we're not using it at all. The only thing that Google uses it for is for ad copy creation. So like, instead of me writing the text ad, like sell your house fast in Minnesota, we could have Google write it on our behalf. But there's nothing past like the ad creation, such as, it doesn't support in management. It doesn't support in like fixing problems in the ad account. It doesn't do any of that.
It's not there yet. Yeah.
No. Yeah. And
it will be.
I don't know if they'll even ever do that because I think for Google, they
want you to make mistakes?
No, not necessarily that they want you to make mistakes, but they can never say it's perfect because how can they say that their AI is perfect? It's going to run all your ads for you perfectly, and every single advertiser that shows up and uses it, it's going to get done for absolutely right. Yeah. So they already have this campaign called Performance Max, and what Performance Max is. It is basically a combination of search, YouTube, display, demand gen, every single campaign lumped into one. And when Google created it, they were initially saying, okay, cool. You're going to basically just set up this one campaign and our algorithm, which is already AI, that is already AI. It's not something like this is not new. They already use AI. The whole algorithm is based off of machine learning, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Their algorithm is going to find the best traffic for you and put you in front of the best audience. That thing freaking sucks. It generates spam leads like crazy. It just does not do what the result that we're looking for. And so like they kind of have stuff, but it's just not the end all be all at this point. Like it's not good. Yeah. So
cool, man. Well, dude, let me ask you this really quick. What's it like to like sign up, work with you, ongoing service, stuff like that? Just like in an elevator, not an elevator pitch, but just in a quick summation.
Yeah. So to keep it quick, there's really our onboarding process is really simple. You fill out a client onboarding form that's going to collect like really basic assets like your logo, all your team members' information, just where you want to target, your budget, that general stuff. We take around 3 to 4 business days to build everything out, and then we do an onboarding call with you where we discuss basically the expectations of the campaign and then like your overall strategy, within the next 90 days, 6 months, so on. And then from there, once we actually get a clear picture on that, we launch, and then it's about 3 to 4 business days before you see that first lead come in. So all in all, from day of sign up to getting the first lead, it's about 7 business days.
It's quick for an agency.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty quick. Yeah.
Very solid. And meeting with those teams as well, going through like performance on some type of rhythm.
Yeah. So in terms of like, as far as the relationship and how we have that structured with the clients we have, so there's two ways that you're able to communicate with us. Number one is we create a private Slack channel in our organization where you get access to a client success manager. You get access to, my assistant, our devs, anybody else involved in the operation that's needed to be in that channel is in there. And you're basically like, we like to kind of look at ourselves like your outsourced in-house marketing team. You can hit us up and we'll respond in under 10 minutes every single time. There's no reason why.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Like if my team is not responding in 10 minutes, we have a problem.
Fractional in-house marketing team.
Yeah, exactly. So we are, with you in Slack. We're communicating with on a day-to-day basis on anything you need. And then the second piece is we're meeting bi-weekly with you where we're going over all your metrics, asking like, how things are going. And again, we have both the marketing and the sales metrics to say, this is going well, this isn't going well, this is where we need to pivot. Like, why are we not converting? Like I've had to in the past, very rarely, I've only done it for a couple of people. I've had to listen to people's calls. I had to say, we had to, coach them up.
Yeah, you got to figure out where they're going wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have to go that far sometimes into fixing issues, but that's pretty much how the onboarding portion works. And then also the relationship and, the clients, it's funny, the clients that are self-sufficient, like there's some people I haven't heard from in like 6 months. They just, they show up.
They're doing it, dude. Because they're focused on their business and making money. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. So
that's legit.
Mm-hmm.
That's legit. Cool, guys. Well, highly recommend Josh. Like I said, personally, people I sent his way, great guy, longtime investor fuse guy. We have one thing to end the episode. It's mainly like a thought exercise. If John can pull it up and VP will run you through it. But curious to see how you go about this, Josh.
You are imagine the movie Gladiator. You are like Russell Crowe, obviously not as jacked and good looking as Russell Crowe. But listen, you are Russell Crowe in a Coliseum. You have to pick two. They will defend you. The rest is coming to kill you. Now, here's the deal. We have to assume that although you cannot talk to the animals and they cannot talk back, you're not Dr. Dolittle, but that they understand the mission. It's like a silent understanding. They know what the game is. You can either pick. Now, you pick two. And we have to assume that they're in the arena with you. If you pick the guy with the rifle, he's not up in the stands. He's next to you. Okay?
Same level across.
Same level on the ground where, like picture the movie Gladiator. That's where you're at. All right. You can pick 50 American Trump-loving eagles. You can pick 10 crocodiles, Australian-style crocodiles, we're going to say. 3 grizzly bears straight out of Alaska. You got 7 bulls. You got 1, we're going to call him like a marine sniper. And we got 15 gray wolves. We have 1,000 New York City
10,000.
rats.
10,000.
I fuck that up every time. 10,000 New York City rats, 5 silverback gorillas, or 4 African lions.
Man,
ready? You get to pick 2.
You can take it. You can take it take a second to think about it. But what's defending you and who's going against you?
So what kind of gun does this guy have?
We have to assume it's like a sniper rifle, is what we've always assumed. Like this guy is like an American sniper.
Yeah, this is a more iterated version. We have to find the original one. That looks like some type of like little rifle. The original one's like a good solid, we'll say like a 50 cal sniper, and the guy's fully trained.
Yeah, the other ad we found this online like a couple of years ago, had more details, but this is anyway. So you get to pick, and there's no right or wrong. It's just like now we get to understand who you are as a man. Like, who are you picking on your team to fight for your life, bro?
Yeah, man. If the guy's got a single shot and he's got to take another 30 seconds to reload and shoot again, probably not the guy. So I'm going to go with...
Oh, no one's ever said that before. That's a valid point.
Yeah, I could talk to him, right? Which, great. I could tell him, where to focus, but, he's going to be too slow. So I'm going to pick the Eagles and then...
What?
The Eagles and the Lions.
Okay.
It sounds like a Super Bowl Sunday, but no one's ever picked the Eagles in like all these years. No one has picked the Eagles.
I want to know why the Eagles.
I'm going to assume they're extremely hungry, and they can. Birds are freaking vicious. Huh?
What are they doing to a fucking silverback?
Bro, I don't know. Hey, there's 50 of them. They can distract them.
We've had someone select Eagles before. We've had someone select Eagles
I don't
before.
think we have.
I think we have. Because the thought process we talked about before is that's the only one. Eagles are the only one that can do aerial attacks. Gators or Crocs, whatever it are, or the Crocs.
What are they going to do to me?
I guess
they just have to get your eye. All they have to do is get your eye.
I guess the big flaw with the Eagles, though, is that they're just going to go and, eat a bunch of rats and, get filled up. They're
No. We have to assume they're not trying to eat. They're here to kill and murder. So it's not like they're going to go get a kill and go sit down and eat. We have to assume that, again, they know the game. And their job is to eliminate.
Yeah, then the Eagles.
But, okay, let me ask you this. You have an eagle, okay, and the lions. You have nothing else, and you're a human. Mm-hmm. How do you expect to kill a grizzly bear and the gorilla by yourself?
I would say 5 eagles against 1 grizzly bear. Like, how is the grizzly bear gonna take the eagle out of the sky? This thing could sit there and just peck at his face, peck at his eye. It's constantly going to attack, and there's no way to take it. The alligator is probably the only animal on that entire.
It's a crocodile, FYI.
Crocodile. It's the only one that could probably, kill it essentially. Maybe the wolf, but I don't see the silverback taking it out of the sky. I don't see the grizzly bear taking it out of the sky. I mean, it's gonna just stay up there. The rats are gonna,
It's a lot of rats. 10,000 rats. A lot of rats.
It's a lot of rats, but they're on the ground. I don't know how they're gonna do defending me. I feel like the rats are a pretty solid pick if you're going for numbers, but.
Dude, I'm trying. So I had actually started.
What did you pick? I'm curious. Like, what's your pick from?
I think I keep switching it. Somebody had turned me onto the rats like a year or so ago because I was always picking I was really sticking with the sniper, but you just gave me a lot to stick with because if it is a single shot, he's the worst choice you could.
I'm assuming it's a bolt action, so you get a shot, you have to line it up.
Yeah, but you still have to
No, there's time. Yeah, no.
I don't know. I was picking the silverback. So there was a point where I was the silverback and the wolves. And then I was I think I was the silverback and the rats is what I was thinking. Because 10,000 rats swarming can really do it. Somebody said we all underestimated the capabilities of 15 gray wolves because apparently he's from Montana. And he's like, I don't think you understand what 15 of them can do. But the rats is where I was at. I've never picked the alligators. We had someone. Yeah, crocodile. We had someone pick bison before. Yeah. But the lions, I don't know if the lions probably get picked, but the lions don't seem to. I feel like a grizzly bear is taking out a fucking lion easily.
I don't know. Maybe it happened. They have that. They have those. Have you guys seen those simulations where they'll do it's 1,000 bulls against 10 crocodiles? You guys seen those? So same thing. You got to run one of those simulations and you get the answer.
That's nice right there. Spoken like a true data. So spoken like a true data and split testing professional.
I'm trying to log in right now and I can't seem to do it because I hate this keyboard. But I had asked ChatGPT and I remember the one, but I was great because it did not agree with me. But I needed to apologize to a previous guest because I was arguing with him about the bison. Bison will beat gorillas 9 out of 10 times.
That's crazy.
I did not know that, and it went through all these different. I was given it all these scenarios.
He was convicted on it. It was.
He was.
He was convicted on it. Like he would have.
Yeah, and we were arguing. I was like, "There's no way." And ChatGPT's like, "The bison or the bull is a tank. It is a tank, and the sheer force that it will come at a gorilla with, it cannot match. Plus the weight of it. And it's like even if the gorilla happened to be in a perfect placement to grab it by the horns and slam it on the ground." Generally the force of what the bull is coming at and getting on the ground, the weight of it, the gorilla stands aside from that. The gorilla stands no chance because it has no weapons other than teeth that it can really do anything with. So I did not think about that. So the bull or the bison really kind of take a jump up on the thing too.
Yeah. How much time have you spent researching this in ChatGPT now?
Oh yeah, I have. If I could pull it up, I have all these scenarios. But
Yeah.
Anyway, But that's good. You just think about it, dude. If you ever run into this end of the world scenario, or you know what I mean, you're on like Gladiator
you're
or something.
Prepared.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I've had time to think about this.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's funny.
Cool, man. Well, thanks so much for hopping on, Josh. Hang out with us for a second after we hit live. And thank you guys for checking us out. Definitely check out reidealsystems.com. Connect with Joshua there.